God.
All right. Shabbat Shalom. This is the brothers of GMS New Orleans coming at you with another live Shabbat lesson. But before we get started, as always, we're going to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh,
Hallelujah.
Bahasham,
Yahweh, Bahashem,
Yahushai,
Yahushai,
Bahasham,
Bahashem,
Barakat
Yahushua.
Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure to the end. And also to you few sincere sisters out there diligently learning in silence. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
And with this Shabbat lesson, we're just going to go into current events. The main issue right now being that whole situation going over in the Holy Land. You know, back around Saturday, there was a surprise attack by Hamas, paramilitary groups coming in paragliders, music festivals with a bunch of Amalekites that don't know how to dance getting raided, people getting kidnapped, all this stuff coming out. But then with everything with Esau now, when you give it a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a bunch of conflicting information starts to come out that shows that the original narrative that was set up isn't the full story and isn't the true story. And it's the same exact thing with this situation right now. And we've got a few videos we'll be going into from Jimmy Dore's YouTube channel just showing that, hey, this is yet just another example of Esau Edom, the so-called white man, doing what he does best, being that devil, that deceiver, pitting people against each other, creating completely, fabricated events, just to justify him doing what? Going in and stealing people's resources, enslaving people, and making himself look like the good guy, which is the farthest thing from the truth. You want to say something, Kushab? It looked like you wanted to say something. Oh, kind of. Well, we'll start it off with that Isaiah 25, verse 7.
Because Isaiah 25, verse 7. And he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people,
Keep
and the
going.
and the veil that is spread over all nations.
And we're seeing that right now, that veil of deception, that covering cast that Esau Edom has cast over the planet being destroyed, first and foremost by the men of the Lord, hey, the prophets out on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles like this. And as we can clearly see at this point, the spirit of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai is dealing with GMS, Great Millstone, as well as the brothers that come in the spirit of GMS. We're watching, the news, these current events, filtering them through the scriptures, and then showing this devil for, the deceiver and the fraud that he is. And it's with that vibration getting pushed out here, what? All these other nations of people are starting to wake up to that fact and do what? It's been put on their spirit to do the same thing, find out all this different information and expose this devil to where, as the brother below me, Kushab, was saying before we started the lesson, Esau's just getting sloppy with the shit now. Back especially during 911 and all these other events in the past, Esau was able to pull off these major events and rally entire nations behind him to go to war. But now, when he pulls off an event, within the next couple of hours, people are already questioning the narrative, and Esau's having to backtrack and try to do damage control. And when we go into these clips, you're going to see that it's no different with this current situation over in the Holy Land between the 1948ers and Hamas. But now we'll go to that Second Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 8.
I got a scripture.
Oh, you got a scripture?
Kind
you got a Kabar, then we'll get that Second Thessalonians.
Jeremiah 49, verse 10. But I have made Esau bare, I have covered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren, and his neighbors, and he is not.
Hey, I have laid Esau bare that he is no longer able to hide. Esau comes out with these different narratives out here, and again, they get exposed. Oh, this group attacking, Edomite countries. Wait a second. They were actually funded by the very same nation that they're attacking. But wait a second, things aren't adding up. Oh, they're committing war crimes. The women are getting raped. Babies are getting beheaded. All that. Wait a second, those are actually crisis actors laying on the ground pretending like they're dead, and you're seeing what makeup getting applied to them. Just complete madness. This guy, this devil, this chump, Esau Edom. Hey, that left-handed magic, as we can clearly see, that energy is being taken away from him, and he's becoming sloppier and sloppier, and just he can't come with that deception anymore. So what? He's going to have to come down in great wrath, as it says in Revelation 12, verse 12, and just go back to what he knows, that just in your face, full force action with his blessing, the sword. But that was it, Kabar.
That was it, huh?
Kind of. You can get that Thessalonians.
This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 8. It says, "And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming."
And we know who that wicked is. The wicked whom the earth has been given into the hands of in Job 9 and 24, and the border of wickedness in Malachi 1 verse 4, Esau, Edom. And who is the top tribe of these Edomites? The Amalekites, which those 1948ers are Amalekites, and the elites, like your Rothschilds and Rockefellers, are Amalekites. And we can see that they're playing out of the same playbook, creating these narratives out there to try to fulfill their agendas and reach their goals. But what? And the wicked is being revealed again, first and foremost by the prophets, spiritually taking away that covering cast, that deception from these nations, and revealing this Edomite for who he is according to the scriptures, and then it trickling down to all these other so-called truth tellers out there coming out with this information, further exposing that devil. And as it says, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth through the prophets prophesying his word, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. And after the spiritual prosecution team has brought his crimes before the judge, then the judge is going to, give him his sentence. Yahushua making his second coming and making war against this devil to take him out of power, and then begin slapping those chains on him. Okay. But before we get into those clips, does the brother have that Psalm 64?
All right, I got you on the Psalms.
Okay.
I'm gonna start at verse 5. This Psalms 64 and 5. It says, "They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of land snares privily. They say, who shall see them?" Question mark.
Reread that first part again.
It says they encourage themselves in an evil matter.
Keep going.
They commune of land snares privily. They say, who shall see them? Question mark.
Hey, Salaki, reread that first part again one more time, Baba Kasha.
It says they encourage themselves in an evil matter.
They encourage themselves in an evil matter and say, who shall see us? And information is coming out now that what Egypt's intelligence was telling the 1948er government for months that, look, Hamas is about to do some attacks. You should really take heed to it. But the 1948er government, didn't take heed and let these things happen. Well, what was going on before these attacks? Benjamin Netanyahu's government was in hot water for a lot of laws he wanted to pass, which would allow him to do things like control the courts and appoint his own judges. So you had a lot of people, 1948ers, protesting against Netanyahu, wanting to get him out of power. And how convenient that as he's in hot water, these attacks happen to rally the nation behind him so he can do what? Defeat the terrorists, save the people. Hey, they commune in an evil matter and say, who shall see them? But hey, those spiritual watchmen, first and foremost, see his wicked ass and reveal him, through filtering these current events through the scriptures. And then again, it trickles down to these other truth tellers out here, further putting that magnifying glass on his wickedness.
Hey guys, could you back up what you're saying, man?
Con, you got it.
It's Job 34. I'm gonna start verse 21. For his eyes are upon the ways of men, he see all his goings, and there is no darkness nor shadow of death where the workers of iniquity may hide themselves.
A point blank period, as it says. His eyes are upon the ways of man, and he seeth all his goings. We know that Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai's eyes are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. But who does he have on earth, using as his eyes to see things and then to speak things, speak his words? The prophets. Hey, we've got the spirit of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai on us. So what? As it says in 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11, Satan is not getting advantage of us, nor are his devices deceiving us. We see him throwing these curveballs a mile away, so we're able to get the scriptures together and the appropriate information and do lessons like this to expose this devil.
Mm-hmm.
You got it, Bayan.
Con. And like you said, we on watch, man. We on watch, and we watching this devil. That's how we could see these plays coming a mile away. And like the most important part of what 2/3 of our people don't actually know is that, again, that this is our enemy. So we're never supposed to trust him at anything that he's saying that is, basically going to help us at the end, or it's going to help America, it's going to help everybody. We know that his main motive is to fucking destroy.
God.
But this is you got it. Like,
what does it say? Just as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. That's the one you got?
That's what I'm holding. That's what I'm holding. But
when you read that, also read if you're in that Sirach 12, get your precept, but definitely read. Let me see. Read verse 17 too after you get your precept.
Hey, I was holding the Sirach 12 and 16.
Hey, just bring them all out.
Well, I'll jump back and forth. I wanted to read this in the GNT, the good news. This is Sirach 12 and 10. It says, never trust an enemy. His wickedness is as destructive as rust. Watch out and be on guard against him, even if he acts ever so humble. He is like a metal mirror that rusts away if you don't keep it polished. But the point,
I'm just going to say real quick, and whenever anything bad happens involving these Edomites, what is the first thing they do? They play the victim. They pull out, remember the 1940s. Remember the holiday, the holiday.
Yeah.
They never forget. We can't be racist. We can't be discriminatory. Look at the history of our people. Look at what we've gone through. It's all reactionary. And then these Edomites in America, when things are going bad for them, we worked so hard our entire life. Hey, that was what my forefathers did. I love everybody, but when it gets down to brass tacks, this Edomite, across the board, still has that hateful, deceptive spirit in him, looking to gain an advantage over everybody else by any means necessary.
And if I could back you up, brother, like you said, that being humble and coming down of like, we are the world, we are the world spirit in America. We need to come together so we could fix this problem and so on and so forth. But like I said, it ain't doing nothing but gathering everybody else to push his agenda. So come on, you got to be on game with this stuff, man.
Yeah, some more.
So like,
yeah, some more, Bayan.
I had the two precepts if you wanted me to read them. The verse 16 and 17.
Well, yeah. We'll let Koshab go.
Okay.
You got it, Koshab.
I just wanted to make a point on, how, this devil is always 2 steps ahead of everybody. Like Bayan was saying, he like to make it, like, we all gonna come together. We all should be, on the same level or something. But meanwhile, privily or secretly, they're already doing things to keep themselves 2 steps ahead, especially you Jakes, man. That's why you shouldn't trust your enemy at the end of the day. But this is Sirach 12 and 16. It says, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood.
And how And how do these Edomites always, come with their agendas first? Oh, look at the poor women and children over there. They're getting oppressed. Their leader is a dictator. He's a despot. He's killing his own people in the streets and all that. We need to bring democracy. But what does democracy entail? As the Elder Malcolm says, your door getting kicked in and you hearing grenade getting yelled, and before you know it, your whole family's dead, your land is taken, and you just simply trying to defend your house. You're labeled a what? A terror, a T. You're the bad guy, while the people that invaded your country are the good guys, bringing you, hope and justice and democracy. And what are we seeing right now? You've got they're putting it out there. The Amalekites on the media are crying. They're lamenting that my loved ones got kidnapped. Oh, they're killing everybody. What are we gonna do? But what's their response to it? Not being satisfied with blood. They are leveling the Gaza Strip right now, just turning it into rubble and killing hundreds to thousands of people. But how do they justify it? By making, the enemy look like an animal, look like a dog, look like less than human. And that should sound familiar to you Jakes out there. When they took over America, what were you Native Americans? Savages, uncivilized. When they took you so-called Negroes from the west coast of Africa, oh, you spear chuckers, you dumb animals. And then today, thugs and gangsters and all that. So don't feel bad when the cops blow these Jakes away. There's some racist Edomite, blows some random Jake kid away for just playing ball at the playground.
That goes back to his blessing too, which is part of the sword. Is also his media. He uses that as a weapon. That's why the scripture says he whets his tongue as a sword. He dehumanizes people to justify putting them to death. You gotta
kind of keep going, Kushab.
This back in Sirach 12, this verse 17. It says, "If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee."
Hey, if you find yourself in trouble, who's always the one riding on a white horse to come save the day? Esau, Edom. Hey, a perfect example of that was that whole thing that took place in 2019 to 2021. This hidden enemy was getting people dizzy out here, and who came with the juice? Who came with the juice to knock you back, to make you feel better again? Esau, Edom. And who was the main target? You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And it's no different with any other event that takes place out here. Any bad thing that happens, who do you find there first bringing humanitarian aid and help? Esau, Edom. And then when you look at the situation after he's shown up, it's 10, 20, 50, 100 times worse than it was before his wicked ass showed up. But
and if I could add, what the elder always bring it out, what is it? Problem, reaction, solution. He comes and brings the problem. The reaction plays out, and he already have the solution in hand, man. That's just how wicked he is, man.
And when we play those clips, we're going to see a perfect example, because with evidence that's about to be brought out, contrary to popular belief, it was actually the 1948ers that funded and created Hamas. They created the problem to what? Get their reaction. Oh, we need to defend our people. And what's the solution? Going in and further taking what little land left those Palestinians had. And this is the MO of this man all throughout history. The Viet Cong, which was originally known as the Viet Minh, that was created by Esau, Edom, these American Edomites, to fight against the Japanese during World War II. The Taliban with Osama bin Laden was funded by the U.S. to fight the Soviets during the Afghan war in the 1980s. And even Saddam Hussein was best friends with the U.S. You can find pictures of him with Donald Rumsfeld. He was set up to fight against the Iranians during the 1980s Iran-Iraq war. But what happens when you no longer serve your use? Or you try to, go against what Esau wants? What are you labeled as? Public enemy number one, a dictator, a terrorist. And then they bring democracy to your country. And then before you know it, you're just like the average American out here with coming from a broken family. Your daughter's a whore, your son's a sodomite, and you got a McDonald's on every street corner.
Yep.
But we'll get back to that Psalms 64, and then we'll get into that clip.
This is the book of Psalms, just chapter 64 and verse 6. It says, they search out iniquities, they accomplish a diligent search. Both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep.
And that is a deep thought to what you create. You create the forces that you turn around and use them to attack your own people, to what? Justify you in creating a boogeyman to take more rights from the people and gain more power to the government. All the while you look like the good guy fighting against the enemy you created. Who thinks like that? Only a diabolical devil.
The devil that the Bible speaks of.
Exactly. That wicked, that the man of sin, the son of perdition, which that word perdition goes into what? Destruction, utter destruction. And that's all Esau Edom brings, is death and destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going on.
In verse 7, it says, but the Most High, but the Most High shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves.
And that's what we'll be going into with these clips, their own tongues falling upon themselves. Esau Edom's skirt being lifted up and him being exposed, not just by the bend of the Lord, but by his own people who can see that, look, our own governments are screwing us over. And we believed in these governments that they would take care of us from cradle to grave, but they're taking away our rights. They're ruining our future. So we got nothing left but to expose this devil. God. So without further ado, we've got two clips, and we're just going to play a little bit of each just to, back up the scriptures we've been bringing out about this deception that this devil comes with to manipulate the situation to what? Try to get his outcome that he wants. Problem, reaction, solution, which always ends up with less rights for the people and more power for these devils and more, oppressive draconian laws getting passed. But this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. We do not own any of the footage in these clips, nor do we stand to gain from them monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes. And again, this is from the Jimmy Dore YouTube channel. And the title of this video is, yes, they actually created and funded their enemy.
So we told you that Benjamin Netanyahu is very unpopular in Israel, that there are hundreds of thousands of people protesting in the streets before this attack happened. And what we also find out is that Hamas was invented by Israel. Why? Because there was the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the PLO, and they were moderate and they were secular. Well, so Israel's idea was, hey, let's make this radical, a religious extremist organization, and they'll split the Palestinians. And so divide and conquer is much easier than trying to conquer a united Palestine. So they listen. Here it is. Anyone who wants to thwart the establishment, this is from Haaretz. Oh,
pause it real quick, guy.
Okay.
Problem, reaction, solution. What's the problem? These Palestinians are starting to, organize and try to come up with a so-called two-state solution to where we have to coexist with them. What's our reaction? Let's take extremist Islamist groups and fund them. Sound familiar? Like the Taliban in Afghanistan with the US, so that they can go against the more moderate Palestinians and fracture them so they're weak. So what's our solution? They'll be much more easy to conquer.
If I can say real quick, he did the same thing to Jake with the civil rights movement. He funds the same people that he's trying to conquer. so he can control the narrative. All right, he sets up Michael King. They were set up by the Rothschilds. He set up, the Nation of Islam. That was all set up by Esau. So he controls the narrative. He'll actually create his own boogeyman and say, look at these people right here. Look what they're doing. We have to do something about this.
So this is from a site. It says anyone who wants to thwart the establishment of a Palestine state has to support bolstering Hamas and transferring money to Hamas. This is what Netanyahu told the Likud party's Knesset members in March of 2019. This is part of our strategy. Well, first, let me say, great job.
Wow.
Yeah. Did Netanyahu's nicknames, are his nicknames Mr. Security and Babysitter?
As a matter of fact, they are. His nicknames?
Really?
Yeah, give himself that.
His nicknames are Mr. Security and Babysitter?
He calls himself the babysitter.
Wow. Except we call him those names sarcastically now.
Yeah, let him keep those names. Just say it like, hey, here comes Mr. Security.
So just again, this is something I don't think you'll be told on mainstream news media, is that Israel government itself invented Hamas, funded Hamas, because they thought it would be easier to control the Palestinian people with two different organizations vying for their loyalty. And so that's called divide and conquer. And they're not going to tell you that on CNN or Fox or NBC News, or they're not going to tell you that what?
This is 29. This ain't 2006 when they walled them up because they voted for Hamas.
Blockade on 2006.
Yeah, so you blockaded them for how long? 17 years for voting for Hamas. And you're paying money to Hamas in 2019, and you're telling everybody that. I didn't know you were part of Iran.
Egypt intelligence official says Israel ignored repeated warnings of something big.
Was the warning not to invent Hamas?
Hey, come on. We can either play the blame game or we can do the adult thing and flatten Gaza and then bomb Iran's oil refineries.
Yeah.
That's the grown-up thing to do. In fact, whatever happens, we should definitely attack Iran. Am I right?
I'm thinking about that right now. I'm looking to the next
Yeah.
attack. I'm with Lindsey
Jim,
Graham right now.
This is the thing, Jimmy, that we have to talk about. But it could spin so far out of control. What happens if they do go after and hit Iran? Iran is aligned with Russia.
Yeah.
This can get crazy.
Oh, we'll forget all about that Ukraine screw up, won't we?
This could get really World War III, right?
Pause it real quick, guy. Oh, were you gonna say something?
God, they're speaking about like what should happen or what could happen, but it's in the Bible, so we know it's going to happen. Everything they said, their worst fear, is in the scriptures.
They prophesying without even knowing it.
Yeah.
That's how powerful of a time of prophecy we're living in is to where just the average speculation by these people out here lines up with prophecy. And then you got another guy, the Canadian prepper, who he's getting to the point where he's like, hey, things are looking like Revelation. Things are looking biblical right now. He even said that Gog was Russia. And for years when I've watched this guy, he ain't been a biblical person. He's been, more secular and so-called logical minded, but it is getting so in your face that everybody, has to acknowledge the scriptures. And come next, and who the true prophets are, who the true Israelites are, and who the true power is. Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. But in the quote they just said, this could escalate into something bad with, them doing something against Iran. Jeremiah 49 verse 20, the least of the flock shall draw them out. Those Amalekite Edomites doing something to provoke Iran, which is going to draw what? The Northern Army in Joel 2 and 20, the United States in on their side, along with these other NATO nations. And then he just mentioned, if they go against Iran, who's coming to their aid? Russia. Ezekiel chapter 38, Gog being a guard under Persia or Iran. But we're going to get back to the clip.
Oh, here's another one from the Wall Street Journal. How Israel helped to spawn Hamas. That's from January 24th, 2009.
And they kept giving him money over that 10 years. The Prime Minister of Israel. Wow. Great job.
So here's Spike Cohen. He breaks it down. Hamas, to my great regret, is Israel's creation. These are the words of Avner Cohen, a former Israeli religious affairs official who worked in Gaza for decades. As you watch the death and destruction that is currently unfolding in Israel and Palestine, it's important for you to know that the Israeli government is responsible for the rise of Hamas. Wow. Well, my great regret is I wanted to blame Iran for this. So stop telling people that. It was, if it wasn't for Israel's government, Hamas might not even exist at all. Starting in the late 70s, the Israeli government decided that they wanted a radical Islamist counterweight to the PLO, which was run by Yasser Arafat's secularist and left-wing Fatah party. Their thinking was that if the Palestinians were busy fighting each other, they wouldn't be able to fight Israel, so divide and conquer.
And they still thought that in 2019.
Yes.
In the 70s, they came up with this genius plan.
And they're still doing that plan in 2019.
Wow.
So they use the same plan we always use for everything that has always worked and never blew up in our assholes. And you want to blame Netanyahu for this?
They used the Hillary Pied Piper strategy that was so effective against Trump.
Well, so let's keep going. Starting in the late 70s, they began giving direct funding to a fringe group of radicals, their organizations, and their mosques. One of them was Sheikh Ahmed Yassin, leader of the Muslim Brotherhood in Gaza, who had also formed the Islamist group Mujama al-Islamiyah. They were recognized as a charity by the Israeli government in 1979 and started receiving funding soon after. Brigadier General Yitzhak Sergev, who was the Israeli military governor in Gaza at the time, said that he was given a budget to fund these mosques and organizations and was told to give them preferential treatment over the PLO. Cohen wrote an official report to his superiors in the 1980s where he warned them against continuing the strategy. I suggest focusing our efforts on finding ways to break up this monster before this reality jumps in our face, he wrote at the time. They didn't listen. Let me guess, they called him a self-hating Jew?
Yep.
In 1987, those groups formed Hamas, and the rest is history. Thousands of innocent Israelis and Palestinians killed, and as we see today, the death count continues to rise. It's important to note that the United States government gave billions of dollars to the Israeli government and hundreds of millions to the Palestinian Authority. American taxpayers are being forced to bankroll the carnage you're currently witnessing. It's long past time for that to end. Foreign military aid is the act of taking money from working Americans and giving it to rich, powerful foreigners to fund wars, genocides, terrorism, and other horrors. It's long past the time for that to end. And here is from S.L. Canthan, says, did you know that Israel created Hamas? There were two reasons for this shocking strategy. Divide and rule, split the Palestinian leadership into two divisions. Use Hamas's hardline as an excuse to reject any peace plan. That is, create a controlled opposition which is violent enough to keep the endless war going and sabotage peace plans. Hamas is an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood, which has had very close relations with the United States and the West for decades. However, this plan has now backfired. Now Hamas is too independent and too strong to be contained. Ironically, Hamas, the creation of Israelis and Americans, may force Israel to go back to the negotiation table.
Great job. The gain of functioned Hamas. Great work.
I think all our
Hey,
man.
So yeah,
That's wild.
There
That's
you have
wild.
it. Hey, their tongues shall fall upon themselves. You got Edomites, and it had this Edomite Jimmy Dore shown this information from another Edomite named Spike Cohen, which is a Amalekite name. Hey, Esau Edom is just being exposed on all levels. And again, first and foremost, it began with the men of the Lord. Hey, the prophets out prophesying this word, putting that vibration out there. And one example we always bring up is look at Google Images 10 years ago. If you would have put in Esau, Edom, or Edomite, who knows what would have come up? Scooby-Doo and the Mystery Machine might have came up, Ronald McDonald. But now you go put in Edomite and you see people like him come up first in the search. So Esau's got nowhere left to hide. So that's why you're seeing them scramble more and more and become bold and talking about their plans of bringing about that GR, that great RESET. And you're going to eat bugs and be happy, 15-minute cities. And we are bringing about a digital cashless society. There's nothing you can do about it. Esau Edom can't hide anymore or do things really by gradualism. He's got to speed things up. But did any brothers have any precepts?
I had one, but you wanted to play the other clip.
We'll get your precept, and if any brothers have any precepts, and then we'll play that last clip.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 28, and we'll start at 17. Judgment also will I lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet, and the hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies, and the water shall overflow the hiding place.
Hey, these rivers of living waters are sweeping away, this refuge of lies and these hiding places. And then what? That hail is going to come, those nuclear missiles, and hit everywhere these Edomites dwell, and just erase all this hard work they put in wickedness. And then from there, righteousness is going to reign forth in truth.
Yeah, when you read up, it tells you our people made a covenant with lies. Our people actually look to the devil to help them, as it tells you in Isaiah 30 and 31. They trust in Egypt. They trust in oppression. They trust a man who's done nothing but lie. He has a track record of doing nothing but lying. He broke over 400 treaties with Gad and Reuben, the so-called Native Americans. He broke every promise he made to you so-called Negroes. And you trust this man. You trust the damn devil. Why would you trust someone that creates and funds organizations to kill his own people just to prove a point, just to push an agenda? And what does the scripture say? To whom that is evil to himself, to whom will he do good? This man is willing to kill millions of his own people. How are you going to trust somebody like that?
And we got a perfect example right here of our people making a covenant with death.
Total loser.
If you can.
Mm-hmm.
Floyd Mayweather the other day shared a message of support after the Hamas attacks. I stand with the 1948ers. Now remember, Floyd Mayweather knows he's an Israelite, and has brought that up before. He is now sending his private jet, Air Mayweather, to the Middle Eastern country to deliver food and other supplies, including bulletproof vests for the IDF force soldiers. Just complete madness, and an example of another coon out there making a league with this man. And then, if I could say real quick, Kabar, remember when that situation happened at that kosher market in New Jersey? I believe it was ISU PK that got interviewed, and they asked him the same question: do you have any problems against Edomites, well, so-called white people? And he's like, oh, no, we don't. God does, just God, but not us. And then they asked him, do you have a 501c3? Oh, yes, of course we do.
Of course, yeah.
And then he had some other, ball dribbler, some coon.
I was just about to say him.
You got him? I can't remember his name, but you got his ass?
Yeah. Goddamn LeBron James.
Him, and there was another one.
Amar Star.
Because he claims that guy, Amari Stoudemire, claims that he's converted back to Judaism, or whatever fucking call that shit.
Yeah,
bugged out, man.
Yeah, sure. The brothers, they put in the chat that they telling Jace that's in the home, man. They got to get out, man.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But that's what you get when you make a covenant with death. And those Israelites, those true Israelites that are over in the Holy Land right now, they did make a covenant with death, because what? They have their sons and daughters in the IDF, in their military force. They sent them to their schools, which they were teaching that Judaism and all that. So you made a covenant with death, and now they're 86 in your ass from that country. And then all you other coons out there that made a covenant with Esau Edom, with these elites and these other power structures, hey, you're gonna get washed away too when that refuge of lies gets washed away by that flood and that hail.
I had a precept to back up the one I'm brought out.
Kind, you got it.
It's the book of Second Esdras. It's chapter 6, verse 27. It says, "For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. And as for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which had been so long without fruit, shall be declared."
And we're seeing that take place as we speak. The truth being declared from one end of the earth unto the other by what? The unicorn, the internet. Our apostles and elders have been prophesying for 40 plus years, and what they got onto the YouTube, and now you're seeing camps sprout up all across the planet. You're seeing Israelites wake up in mass numbers, and the truth is expounding in that fruit. And that wickedness, that corruption is being wiped away right now spiritually. But then that physical part's going to come when Yahweh Shai makes his second coming, and him, along with the 144,000, are going to get to work enslaving you heathens so you can build up the kingdom of heaven. Yeah,
Right.
any more, Kushab?
Nah, that was it.
Okay. Any brothers have any other precepts they want to bring out?
Nah.
Okay, we'll play the second clip. Just further exposing this devil and his just wickedness. And again, this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. We do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do we stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes. And the title of this clip is "The Three Biggest Lies They're Spreading Right Now." You got it,
So I want to show you this. This video has been going around. This is from Palestine Online. Here's the fact about 3 lies widely spread by Israeli propaganda. So let's watch this.
3 lies currently being told about Palestine. Number 1, 40 babies were beheaded. This is completely false. No evidence has been provided for this. The claim comes from this journalist during a walk and talk. She makes the claim saying,
"I see in the distance more bodies being covered. Babies. Their heads cut off."
Later in a tweet, however, she admits that she did not see bodies, but heard a soldier talking about it. Number 2, people were raped. Also false. There is no evidence of this whatsoever. Number 3, 250 people were killed at a concert. False. The only videos we have seen are people running away from the concert. There isn't a single video or photo suggesting that 250 people were killed at a concert or that a mass shooting took place. What we do have, however, are interviews of Israelis claiming that Palestinian resistance fighters were actually kind to them, merciful to them. So why are they lying? It's called atrocity propaganda. They lie about atrocities in order to incite emotions, hatred, and violence. Why? Because they are the ones planning to commit atrocities themselves. To do this, they need to convince you that Palestinians are barbaric animals that rape, torture, and behead babies. This is a war of information. Follow for more and help us fight.
Well, even ISIS didn't behead babies, right?
Right.
They didn't have little baby guillotines that they.
So let's just remember our favorite thing from Syria, which is when the CNN reporter went there and pretended to sniff poison gas off of a backpack, because that's the first thing you would do.
And there's definitely something that stings.
Ooh, what is this, World War I? What am I, in the trenches?
Hey,
I got a little sting.
It's bullshit.
Is there some poison on there? Give me it. Oh yeah, that's poison.
Yeah.
It stings. That's how you
the
know.
pros do it. It's like when they find the Coke and just taste it real quick. You do that with poison gas.
Poison gas. So I hope we help debunk those 3 lies that are being. A lot of people I know repeated those lies online. And if I repeated a lie that was half that bad, they would never let me forget about it, and they would end my channel.
Well, it's just emotional, Jimmy, because as you know, I supported Black Lives Matter so hard, but they didn't turn around and support this Israel prison camp.
That's right.
It really stabbed you in the back on that one.
So
total madness.
There you have it. And what if anybody remembers when when Russia invaded Ukraine, there was a bunch of information coming out. Oh, Zelensky was on the front lines with his troops. They had pictures of him with a flak jacket on. You had the ghost of Kiev, who was this mythic solo fighter jet pilot who took down like 50 Russian fighter jets without even taking a scratch. Come to find out, you had a armored personnel carrier vehicle driving recklessly on the street, running over civilian cars and all that, making the Russians look incompetent and like these barbarians. But come to find out, a couple of weeks later, for one, the ghost of Kiev never existed. Those pictures of Zelensky on the front lines were actually a year ago when the war hadn't even started, so it was peaceful. That image of that armored car running over a civilian car was actually Ukrainians driving it. And then a lot of that combat footage they showed was from a video game called Arma. So, hey, you can't believe anything that this devil puts out here. And he comes with a lot of disinformation. But again, that's 2 Corinthians 2, verse 11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. When the spirit of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is dealing with you, you can see right through these narratives. And again, beginning with the prophets, hey, this covering cast that has been cast over all the nations of the earth, this veil is being lifted, and this devil is being exposed for who he is, the basest of men, the wicked, whom the scriptures speak of, whom the earth has been given into the hands of. But with all this exposure taking place, hey, wickedness is about to be rooted out, and righteousness and truth is about to flourish for eternity.
Yeah, that's the spirit. I was just going to say, anytime you look in the scriptures, let me read this real quick. This is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 6. How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? And, when you go into the scriptures, every time you read Esau getting exposed, a few verses down, he's getting destroyed. Okay, whether it's Obadiah, whether it's 2 Thessalonians, whether it's Jeremiah 49, Jeremiah 50, Esau being exposed is always followed by his complete destruction. So it's a beautiful time. If you're in the time of Esau being exposed, you know what's coming next. All right, the end of this hell for our people and the ushering in of the kingdom of heaven.
God, did any brothers have any precepts or points they wanted to make?
I was gonna bring out that Micah 2:1. You've been going into that pretty much, the whole lesson.
God.
It's the book of Micah, chapter 2, verse 1. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. And when the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand."
Hey, behind the scenes, Esau Edom comes up with all these plans and agendas. Hey, we just saw in that first Jimmy Dore clip, behind the scenes, they funded, Islamic groups, which eventually led to Hamas. But then when you see it in the mainstream media, they make Hamas out to be this homegrown, terrorist group that just hates the 1948ers and wants to kill babies and kidnapping great women and all that. But when you find out the whole agenda, they were actually funded as a force to be used to further, weaken the Palestinians so they could take over the rest of the land. Oh, and lest we forget, Iraq with, Colin Powell going before the United Nations with what, anthrax, and then saying they had weapons of mass destruction. And then what was that all for? To destroy Saddam Hussein's government and gain control of their oil resources.
Yeah, they break down that whole plan in that book, Economic Hitman. So it just spills the beans again. How are the hidden things of Esau searched out, man?
And that's beautiful that you brought up that book. When you read that book, there were 3 phases to it. The first phase was when the economic hitmen would go to these leaders of these different third world countries with rich natural resources and say, look, we'll give you money. We'll make sure that you're set up, your children are set up, and your grandchildren are set up. All you have to do is allow these US companies into your country and let them, use your natural resources. Do not nationalize them. Some took the deal, some didn't. Those that didn't, it moves on to the next phase where they send in the jackals, CIA hitmen, assassins to put bombs on planes, snipe people, stuff like that. If they survive that, then comes the third and final phase. They send in the United States military, which is nicknamed the Leviathan Force.
I got something for you real quick.
You got it.
Like you said, back on that first video, I Googled the concept of divide and conquer, and a PDF of this powershift.org came up with a couple of points that they made about it. It says, divide and conquer. What is divide and conquer? Divide and conquer is a strategy used by elites, often understood as the oppressors, to break down the relationship and unity between subjugated, often racial, groups struggling for justice, freedom, and liberation in order to maintain the status quo.
God, and that's exactly what we saw with Hamas. You had the Palestinian Liberation Organization, which was, what most people in the West would be considered a good thing. It's a secular, left-wing leaning organization that just wants, a two-state solution and their people to not get bombed. But then what Hamas is created by the 1948ers so that they can divide Palestine and then further come in and conquer. And one of the granddaddy examples of that is India, which under those British Edomites, when they pulled out, they created Pakistan. And Pakistan is a Muslim majority country, while India is a Hindu majority country. And you can constantly see they're at strife with each other. Divide and conquer.
They got a little bit more.
Another, we can go on for days with examples. The Vietnam War. South Vietnam was a creation of the Western powers to fight against, North Vietnam and to keep that country divided. Korea, North Korea, and South Korea, a creation of the United States of America.
Yeah, they do that in Africa, like so many countries. They even fund different tribes within the same country. They give them weapons, and it's all to take the natural resources. You end up, Gad. You end up killing your brother. Esau shows up, like it tells you in Sirach. He shows up as the hero. He shows up with Red Cross. He shows up with his democracy. Next thing you know, everybody in your country is poor, and all these corporations are making billions of dollars out of your natural resources.
Hey, when you're in when you find yourself in adversity, who shows up first?
The damn devil.
Esau.
He'll set your house on fire and then show up with a fireman outfit on and a hose. Like, look, hey, I'm here to save the day. Like, you set the fire, man.
They showed that in that movie Gangs of New York. You had Tammany, who was running for mayor of New York. And what he would do is he would get Bill the Butcher and his gang, who were his hired thugs, to set buildings on fire. And then they showed you when the fire team showed up, they put one of those barrels, one of those Donkey Kong barrels on top of the hydrant, and a guy sat on it, so you couldn't find where the hydrant was. But then when Tammany's firemen showed up, they took the barrel off, put the hose in, and put out all the waters. And Tammany said, "Look at how efficient I am. I've got my own firefighter force, and I'm putting out the fires. I need to be mayor."
Yeah, that's Esau.
But you got to buy on.
Good. And these next points about to go into everything y'all just said. It says the tactics of divide and conquer. It says creating a narrative that blames each group for the other group's problems. This works to foster mistrust among groups and obfuscate the systematic inequalities of white supremacy, capitalism, and patriarchy. Bribing some groups with access to some resources with material, bribing some groups with access to some resources like material and psychological. This works to align some groups with the elites over the subjugated groups. The resources offered are never close to the original goals of the movement.
Hey, and that clip with that first clip talking about Hamas, they said that the 1948ers gave money to only organizations that would eventually become Hamas, while to the organizations aligned with the PLO, they didn't give them anything. So they, dried up and floundered out there.
This is the last point right here. It says threatening to withdraw resources and or to enact violence against groups if they continue to ally with other subjugated groups. This creates a culture of fear that not only breaks down the intergroups relationships, but also leads to groups being overall less bold and taking fewer risks in their pursuit of justice, freedom, and liberation.
Point blank, period. Did any brothers have any precepts or other points they wanted to bring out?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so with that, we hope you, sincere Akim and Akwath, were edified by this live Shabbat lesson. And again, as always, we're going to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well, and peace and salutations to you, sincere Akim out there, pushing this word of truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.